Hey folks, my name is Mo Amir and this is VANCOLOUR, British Columbia's bona fide culture and politics TV talk show. Tonight we're focusing on some hot-button consumer issues. JJ McCullough will be here to defend consumerism. We're also going to talk about greenwashing and what that has to do with Canada's Competition Bureau launching an inquiry into the Vancouver-based athletic apparel retailer Lululemon. But first, while stretchy lycra pants are optional, groceries are not. And this month, there has been a campaign to boycott one big Canadian grocer in particular, Loblaw Companies Ltd, whose chains include the Real Canadian Superstore, Shoppers Drug Mart, No Frills, Extra Foods, T&T Supermarket, Osaka Supermarket, and more. To explain the Loblaw's boycott and whether or not it's been effective is a Toronto-based journalist who has been working on a year-long investigation on the price of groceries for the Hoser, which is an independent digital media outlet based in the Greater Toronto area. He is Eric Wickham. Eric, thank you so much for beaming in tonight.
Oh, Mo, thanks for having me. This is a thrill.
Now, there have been many analyses about why grocery prices in Canada are so high. Some folks are blaming the federal government, others blame outside market influences. What is the case against big grocery chains like Loblaw's for being the reason why grocery prices are just so high these days?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around with grocery prices, right? A lot of people like to blame inflation. A lot of people like to blame the government's inaction for regulating the grocers. But I do think that a lot of responsibility lies with grocers as well. We can see, in 2022, the price of food was rising twice the rate of inflation at one point. And when a grocery store is continuously reporting record profits after this is happening, it's really easy to see why people would be upset with specific companies.
Totally. Now, I can understand consumers looking at Canada's oligopoly of grocers. We have a lack of competition here where five big companies, Loblaw's, Metro, Sobeys, Walmart, and Costco make up about 75% of total market share in terms of grocery stores. But why is Loblaw in particular the target of a boycott this month?
Well, it's an interesting thing because I've seen some people throw out the fact that, hey, Metro should feel very lucky, like Eric LaFlèche should feel very grateful that Galen Weston's getting so much flack. But I will say in Metro's defense, although their prices are also high, they were not the culprit in a bread price fixing scandal. They're not the ones that announced a partnership with Manulife that would mean that 260 different prescriptions would only be able to be fulfilled at their proprietary pharmacies, right? I think putting Galen Weston as a very public face of your company and then having all these scandals happen over and over again is probably why Loblaw's has a big target on their back in this instance.
You're forgetting the Hero Pay scandal where they rolled back Hero Pay and then we realized that they actually told their competitors that they were going to do that. So, signaling to them that they should do that as well.
There's so many scandals. It's hard to keep track of them all, isn't it?
No, absolutely. Now, Loblaw stock has actually been hitting all-time highs. Loblaw executive chairman and controlling shareholder Galen Weston, who you just alluded to, has apparently increased his wealth by hundreds of millions of dollars this month alone. So, is this boycott actually working? Are people stopping their shopping at Loblaw's?
I mean, it's a hard thing to keep track of. I mean, I saw people throwing out the stock price as a reason why the boycott was failing within like a day of the boycott even launching. Boycotts take a long time. I think, when something is only 30 days, we can't expect it to bring a company to its knees, so to speak. Loblaws is a massive company. I don't know if their stock price is going to be incredibly impacted by this boycott, but I think the boycott does something more important than crushing a company. I think it opens up the conversation for Canadians to talk about affordability in a larger way that gets away from apples are too expensive. It's a conversation about I can't afford to pay for rents and my groceries and all the other increasing costs in my life. And I think that is something that, as someone who's been investigating food for the past year, I haven't seen anything of the sort like I have since this boycott was announced.
Is the larger structural problem the oligopoly itself? Like, I'm thinking of a lot of communities where Loblaw might be your only choice in town, or certainly the only, economic choice in town. Maybe there's some higher end grocers that are available as well. And so I just feel like not only for the consumer, but in terms of the suppliers, Loblaw exercises a lot of power. So even going beyond just one brand or one company, is the freedom of choice and competitiveness the key issue here?
Maybe. Like, it is one of those things where, I mean, we all have to eat. So, I mean, if your only option is Loblaw's or another large company, like, please continue to do so, right? I think it's a very Canadian issue to only have a handful of companies in a specific industry. This is not limited to grocery stores. I mean, you can see it in telecom, you can see that in mining, you can see that in energy. There is a specific lack of competition, I think. But beyond that, I think that there is a lot of blame to be going around for the government, right? Like, I think that there needs to be specific regulations to keep prices from getting out of hand, right? I think that we also need to be talking about affordability more, right? I don't know what it's like in BC, but
terrible.
In
it's
Ontario, yeah. Well, I keep thinking about the through lines between Vancouver and Toronto. It's one, heartbreak around playoff time, although you guys are looking good against the Oilers, and it's housing and affordability, right? Like, the one stat I saw thrown around is that in 2022, 16% of households in Ontario faced food insecurity, and to me, that is the real issue that we should be trying to address, right? 16% of households, which meant nearly 1 in 5 kids in the country were facing food insecurity, which is terrifying. And I mean, as much as I'd like to talk about competition and supply chains and which companies are getting away with what, I think that we should be really focusing on how we can get more food to Canadians.
Absolutely. Eric, I appreciate your time tonight. And I have to be honest, it warms my heart to see you breaking the monopoly of voices that are explaining grocery prices to Canadians. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks again, Mo. This is great. Thank you.
Folks, that was Eric Wickham. Find his work on the price of groceries at thehoser.ca. Now, after some business, what is greenwashing? And is my beloved Vancouver yoga clothing brand, Lululemon, guilty of it? Let's talk about it up next.